Well, Shakespeare's Sonnet 130 is one of the most popular sonnets. It's easy to understand, its meaning is pretty much straightforward, but also it playfully toys with that poetic convention that poets use to overpraise their beloved. And this type of poem of overpraising is sometimes called a blazon. Now, before we get into Sonnet 130, I just want to show you an example of a really interesting blazon. This is Edmund Spenser's Amoretti sonnet, Sonnet 15, which came before Shakespeare's Sonnet 130. Spenser writes, and I didn't bother to modernize the language here, but you can still hear it. Ye tradeful merchants that with weary toil do seek most precious things to make your gain, and both the Indians of their treasure spoil, what need you to seek so far in vain? For lo, my love doth in herself contain all this world's riches that may far be found. If sapphires, lo, her eyes be sapphires plain. If rubies, lo, her lips be rubies sound. If pearls, her teeth be pearls both pure and round. If ivory, her forehead ivory wing. If gold, her locks are finest gold on ground. If silver, her fair hands are silver sheen. But that which is fairest, but few behold, her mind adorned with virtues manifold. Now, if you read a lot of blazons of this period, you know that Spenser is even toying with this convention a bit with that ending and drawing our attention away from her physical feature, to her mind. Now back to Sonnet 130. Shakespeare uses this convention, turns it on its head, really. Says that he really doesn't need hyperbole, that is exaggeration, to praise his lady. So the speaker of the sonnet says, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. Remember the rubies of Spenser's sonnet? Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. So here we have the first quatrain. And we even have the ifs, the repetition of the ifs, just like Spenser was saying. If sapphires, lo, her eyes be sapphires plain. Here, if snow be white, Shakespeare, the speaker, is saying her breasts are not white. They are dun. For hairs be wires, then black wires grow on her head. These two poems, I think, are in conversation. I have seen roses, damasked red and white, that's speckled or multicolored, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. This is the second quatrain. Moving on. So it's got this, so the point is being made. And right here's where we might expect a volta or a conclusion or a turn, really the volta. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. She's very human. And yet by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. It's a beautiful sonnet just by the sound. You'll notice the repetition. If you were listening to the vowels, you have a lot of O, which is the, might be vocative, calling to someone, or it might be a sigh of love. We have the O in grow. Roses. Yet I know, saw a goddess go. These sounds are linked throughout. It's a kind of music, but they're also frank. You'll notice the language here in the diction is not overcomplicated. It's a man speaking to another man. It's a speaker being frank with someone else about his love. And yet by heaven, this is, a swear, a solemn oath, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. This is probably the trickiest part of the poem. This word here, any she belied with false compare. She simply means woman here. It's not an act. She is not belying. So sometimes readers, Alan Rickman has a beautiful reading of the sonnets, and he reads this incorrectly, although his sonnets, the reading is beautiful. But he'll say, as any she belied with false compare, as though she is belying something with false compare. But the she here means woman, as any woman who was belied with false compare. And the false comparison is the conceit of the blazon. So there you have it, this sonnet placed in context a little bit, and then some of the meaning just elucidated. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time.